Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about the Edge Copilot mode. So if you're a fan of Copilot and like to use it for various things, such as asking questions, summarizing documents, or even web pages, you might want to check out this feature. So what it does is it adds a little more functionality Copilot-wise to your Edge browser compared to the regular Copilot icon that you have at the upper right here. All right, so first, before we do a little demonstration, I'm just going to talk about the differences here. All right, so we have the regular Copilot button. So the basic AI assistant built into Edge. As you probably know, it appears at the top right corner and opens a little side window there. When you click on it, you could ask it to summarize pages, get help with writing, and so on. So it's a single tab focused, so it only sees the page you're working on. So you'll have the Copilot box open on the right, and then it can see what's on the left on the website. So it also doesn't have any voice control or automation features. So it's best for quick help while browsing, summarizing articles, or generating text or answers on demand. All right, then we have the Copilot mode. All right, so this turns Edge more into a AI browser, I guess you could say. Replaces the new tab page with a Copilot enhanced layout. Offers suggested actions, recent activities, similar prompts. So this is the key part here. You can see across multiple tabs to help compare, summarize, or make decisions. That also has the voice commands and can assist with task automation like booking appointments, drafting emails, or finding deals. Now, when I say, appointments and drafting emails, it can't actually go into your email, for example, and write an email, but you could have it, compose an email for you based on whatever you like, or from another email that it sees when you have it look at your email website. All right, then the sidebar behavior changes. Copilot becomes the default assistant, and traditional sidebar apps may be hidden. So I've seen this kind of go both ways. So sometimes it'll kind of hide the sidebar, sometimes it won't. So you have to see how it works for you. All right, so this is best for research and multitasking, voice-driven browsing, which is a nice feature, AI-assisted productivity, and for users who want a more immersive experience. So we have this little chart here. So if you want to maybe pause the video and get a little breakdown of what each does. All right, so now let's go over to Edge here. All right, to turn this on, you click on the three dots up here, go to Settings, and then from the Settings page, you want AI Innovations, and then turn on Copilot Mode, and then you could have it also be for your new tab page as well. Then you have some preferences here. You want to use the Copilot theme or not. Focus on new tab page when opening a new tab, like so. All right, so we have the Copilot mode right here. So you can see it takes up the whole web page, so it's kind of like a substitute for your search engine. So we have this web page here, online computer tips, Call of Duty on PC Mag, download Windows 11. Then we have a computer on Best Buy, a similar computer at Walmart, Outlook email, and then Gmail. Okay, so I have some questions here that we're going to use rather than just type them in. I'm going to copy and paste. All right, first one, give me a summary of every tab I have open. So you can see it looks at each page and just kind of gives you a short summary of what's on that page. So that's not too bad. All right, so now what is the OCT page showing? So this page is not called OCT, it's Online Computer Tips, but it has this logo, so we'll see if it could actually find that information based on OCT. All right, so you can see it didn't work this time, even though it worked when I was testing it before. So now I could ask a follow-up question. So you're going to run into this as well. So this is one thing I don't like about it, is it's not consistent. So let's see if we can make it recognize the page. All right, so that didn't work. So now let's try something else here. All right, now that we put the name of the website, it actually found it, when before I could just use OCT and it found it. All right, let's move on to the next question here, see if we have better luck. All right, what is the topic of the PC Mag page? All right, so you can see it has Call of Duty, Black Ops 7, and it gives you some information about it. Then you could actually break it down into some new features if you want to do that, and then it gives you a link to that page. All right, so how much will the game cost me? See if we can find that on the page. All right, so it kind of ignored the page here. Let's see what it says for the price here, if anything. So $69 on Amazon. So kind of ignored that, so you probably have to fine tune your question. All right, so you can see it still didn't find it. All right, see, yes, I do now. So I've noticed this as well. Sometimes it doesn't see things, and then you'll ask it again, and it'll say, "Oh yeah, now I see it." So this type of thing tends to be pretty common with all these, AI chatbot tools. It'll give you some information, then you say, "Are you sure about that?" And then it'll say, "Oh no, you're right," and then give you the right information. So prepare for that on this as well. All right, let's move on here. Now let's see if we can find the cheapest place to buy the game. All right, so a lot of information on some pricing there. Not too bad. All right, so now we have these two computers here on Best Buy and Walmart. And you can see the prices are different, $549, $719. So let's see if we could find out the difference. All right, so it has the price with the discount here. All right, so pretty good information here. So it kind of looks like they are the same computer, even though you get a little more information from Walmart and similar price, except Walmart just happens to be on sale. Then you come here, it says Walmart offers a lower price for what appears to be a newer processor. And of course, you're going to have to double check, that too to make sure it knows what it's talking about. And then Best Buy includes a more specific GPU model, but that could be just because Walmart's not giving all the information. All right, let's move on to something else. Okay, so now that I have Outlook and Gmail open, let's say I want to ask some questions about it. Let's see if it'll get confused or not. If I ask a question about my email, how will you know which account I'm referring to? Okay, so it tells you what it's going to do. If you mention Cindy Sims, Microsoft, or anything about meeting, I'll assume you're referring to Outlook. That's just based on the information it sees there. For Gmail, there must be an email about Canva, and it's got the promotion tab. And then it says just say which one you want to look at to make it easier for Copilot to figure out what you're trying to ask. Okay, so now what is the date of the newest email in Outlook? Let's check that real quick. That is today, actually. All right, so it found January 24th, 2026, and that is because it pulled it from this, but that's not the date of the email, so another thing to be careful of. So now let's give it a secondary question here. All right, so that was the date within the email. What is the date of the email itself? Okay, so that's the correct date and time right there because it's reading the timestamp. So that kind of shows that sometimes you need to be a little more specific with your questions. Maybe say what is the received date of the newest email rather than just the date. All right, let's move on. So how many emails do I have from 2022? I'm not even going to tell it which email client I'm talking about, so let's see what it says. So it's sticking with Outlook. So one from 2022. But I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But that could also be because it wasn't visible on the page. So let's ask it again. All right, so it messed this up too, and this is another case of when I was testing this out, it actually found the number of emails, but this time it didn't for whatever reason. So let's give it another follow-up. All right, now it found 3. All right, since there were 9, let's see what it says when I call it out on it. See what I mean? So you have to correct it, and it'll list the emails here. So what if we ask this? Why didn't you see all the emails from 2022 the first time? Okay, let's ask this question. Do they all need to be visible on the page for you to see it? Okay, so keep that in mind as well. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Subject of my newest Gmail email. Let's see what that is. All right, looks like it's about Canva World Tour, assuming it's going to be looking on the Promotions tab here. All right, Splash Top Team at 9:07 today. All right, but you can see there's actually one above it. Is there one above it? Okay, so another example of how it sure isn't perfect. So I'm kind of glad this is making a bunch of mistakes here because it was actually running pretty smoothly when I ran through all these questions the first time when I was testing it. So you could see that it's definitely not perfect. All right, let's move on. Okay, so let's say we're going to have a draft an email. So how does that differ when using Copilot mode compared to the regular Copilot? All right, so when we're using Copilot mode, you can see the open tabs, ask follow-up questions, more flexible, or the button just page focused, quick actions, and so on. And you'll see too, you do have other options here, such as quick response, think deeper, and so on. All right, so now let's go into the contacts here, or people. So we have 2 contacts here, so let's see what I can find. If I ask it, what is the email address for Bob Smith? All right, so found it there. How many contacts do I have? All right, so it showed both of them, and then it gives you a little follow-up option here if you want to take advantage of that. All right, so now let's go back to Mail. Open this up on the side here. Nice if this ad was out of the way. All right, let's see if it could summarize the email. Right now, let's have it generate a response for the email. All right, a little generic, I would say, because it's on January 24th. Need you to reserve the conference room and the projector. Maria will be bringing the laptop. Lunch will be provided. So now, make it more detailed and personal. So it took the liberty of saying something about a new onboarding process. And it doesn't mention anything here. All right, let's give it one more chance to come up with something good here. All right, redo it and mention the items related to me in the reply. So this is completely wrong here. So it did a better job on this when I was testing it as well. All right, so as you can see, it kind of appears to be a work in progress. I don't know if it's just because it's this Edge integration or if it's just Copilot altogether, but it's hit or miss depending on what you're doing. Some of the things worked really well, like comparing the computers or summarizing a page getting pricing. But some of the other things, such as finding emails or definitely replying to emails, are not the greatest. All right, so once again, go to the Edge settings, AI innovations, and then you just turn it off here, and you'll see this icon changes a little bit. But even if you have it on, you could still use it on the side here, with the main difference being you could see the other tabs and use the microphone and that type of thing. Then if you just turn it off, everything goes back to normal here. You go to your regular home page. That's all there is to it. All right, so give it a shot. Maybe it'll work better for you than my demonstration. But like I said, when I was testing it, it worked a lot better than it did right now, which I'm kind of glad because it kind of shows you that it's definitely not perfect. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.